Hello there. This is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another podcast. Culture has an impact on which men are considered good looking. Now, this is very important because of course there's a whole bunch of stuff on the whole looks thing. I mean, you got whole communities feeling like they can't get a woman because they don't have a certain look or anything, right? You know, they don't have that height and square jaw and certain hair thing. But look, first of all, what's considered good looking is not objective. It's not. I know some people argue they did this. All of those so-called studies and everything were very racist and culturally chauvinistic. Because you notice how that Chad always seems to look like a certain height white guy. No, I'm going to say it. I don't give a shit who's mad because of it or offended or might call me a name. Say, oh, Rom, you're being racist. No, I'm just being real. Let's just be real with that thing. Let's be real. That's a bias right there. Because every single culture on the planet has a different idea what is considered good looking and not, right? Like in Nigerian culture, for example, that man has to pretty much look sturdy, healthy, and serious. That's a look that goes for Nigerians. In certain South Pacific cultures, you know, if you're a big dude, you know, that's what women going to go for, right? Even within the United States, there's no universal thing. If you look at classes, different classes have a certain look that a man needs to have, you know? Like if he's in maybe a poor environment, he need to have a rough, masculine look, and this goes across races. He don't need to look like some clean-cut dude. You know, he might need to have a beard, be a little rough, something, have maybe a more rough visage. Or if he's in a more upper class thing, more of that clean-cut, preppy look. Even within, and this is something I've seen. I mean, come on, it's out there. Like, okay, within the black community, I'm going to use that great example. That's where I grew up, right? When back in the 80s, the men that were considered handsome or that the women went for tended to be like more light complexion, had a certain grade of hair back then. But then we went through that period when all of a sudden it was about, some more chocolate type of men, more rougher looking. In fact, and then you go through the thug thing, and right now it's hard to say exactly what it is. But even then, that was culturally, that's a cultural thing. See, understand something. Yes, biology does play a part, but it's filtered through culture. It's filtered through culture. There's no universal thing. Even when I've said on here in general, women like a V shape on a man and everything, that's still very general. That depends on the culture. Even because even the muscular body is different from each culture. It's different. Like, in the United States, you might need to have like those 6-pack abs and everything. But if you go some places in Africa, maybe a more bigger, healthier, especially like in some places that are more poor, more like many third world countries. If you a guy, you got some extra weight on you or something, shoot, you very attractive to a woman because you look healthier. And then it's like different little things. I mean, you got videos on YouTube that talk about that. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. And that's everything. Because see, understand something. Biology is one thing, but then that's the form. But you still need the function. For example, when women like look at a guy, right? Yes, there's two primary reasons they're going to be attracted to him on a primal level. One, can he give them a baby? Two, can he take care of that baby? And that's connected. Maybe the healthier man who's able to feed himself, stay in healthy shape and stuff, he might not look a certain way, He might not have that square jaw. He might have more of a roundish face. Indeed, let's go back around to what I said about that whole Chad and Tyrone, that Chad thing, not even the Tyrone thing. You know, people talking about that square jaw, yet you have many men in African countries. How often do you see that square jaw? Let's just be real. Let's keep it 1,000. Yet these men be having multiple kids and mating like crazy. Indeed, in Africa, while most of the world is having a decline in the birth population, Africans ain't complaining the same way. And the type of man that they'll go for ain't necessarily got that square jaw. Now, I know, like I said, anybody trying to say, well, no, it's universal science that said this, the tests were very culturally biased. And it represents cultural chauvinism. But you go to any culture, they like something different. You go to Asia. If you look at the men, Asia, especially in like Korea, if you look at the men that are being held up as ideal, I'm just be real with you. Their features are more yin, more feminine. They don't got that like strong jaw and all of that stuff. Seriously, but that's a cultural thing. And see, it depends on where you are. Getting back here, it depends on, you know, if we're talking in the United States, it really does depend on the class, the social class. And then we ain't even going to get into the DNA, individual DNA of a woman and her imprint. But let's just keep focused on the culture. It depends on the culture. What is promoted? What is promoted? Or what is in the area? Like you get some places, here, if you look at, if you take an honest look, because, you know, I always talk about the streets. You go in some, like poor places, whether it's the hood or the trailer park. The type of man that's driving a woman crazy don't look like what some guys on the internet try to promote. They don't look like these fashion models. In fact, if you take some of those guys that some men, ironically, think are like top of the food chain, they'll get it, they'll call them slayers and stuff. You put them in some of these like poor places, man, those guys wouldn't get one piece of play because they'd be like, oh, nah, they don't look right. You know? Because what is the culture in those places want a man who's more rugged, more rough. You know? And like I said, it changes according to class, the region, like, you know, class, region, the religious stuff, everything. All of that has a factor, you know. So what somebody is attracted to, what a woman is attracted to, yes, the biology does play a part. It does play a part, but one is not universal, and then it's still filtered through whatever the culture is, the subculture and everything, you know. Like when you get, I never forget, dealing with, you see a lot of more upper class women, the guys they find attractive are not necessarily the same as the ones in the poorer places or in another part of the world. So always do that. And I'm saying that to say this because a lot of guys get caught up, but I notice one thing. These guys don't talk about class. They don't talk about culture. They don't talk about differences between countries and stuff. You know, at best, they'll use some culturally biased thing, some chauvinistic thing, and think the shit's universal. Nah, it's not. So I wanted to share that. And, you know, the thing is, too many guys too caught up into what they don't look like. Be caught up into what you do look like and think about where you at. Because, you know, of course, I always talk about tribe and stuff. Culture plays a big part in your tribe. Because I know with me, the type of women I attract the most, for those familiar with sororities in the black sororities and black female sororities, I tend to attract AKA types. Now, anybody's familiar with it know exactly what I mean. I'm like, to the extent, I'm like, wow. If a woman say she AKA, but then that's more of a class thing. That's more of a class thing because despite how I might personally look, the way I carry myself is more upper class when I'm not on screen. So, you know, even though I still got that rough edge, but still, you know, and that's everybody. So when you're looking at yourself, you got to say, okay, where you at? What type of women, how they perceive me? And remember, that's perceived through culture, you know. Or, I mean, seriously, a lot of stuff go into it. So the whole point of telling you all that is you got to look at yourself. Don't worry about the next man or what you don't look like, all right? Don't get caught up even in these people with these scientific studies and shit. Because, first of all, you know, you got some amateurs doing it. A lot of amateurs trying to do all that stuff, all right? So, anyway, that's all I got for now. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace and blessings.